Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Pathfinder Plays, and today we are going to be talking about the world of Dead Matter. There are many things mentioned about the world itself, but not all of it has been discussed in detail, so we only have so much to talk about. Another aspect to this conversation is that everything we have been given has been and still is a work in progress, so it's subject to change. The difficulty with giving accurate information is just that, so keep that in mind as we go through. So, given all of that, let's start off with some small calculations about the world of Dead Matter. Also, if you enjoy the video, hit that subscribe button. In Dead Matter, seasons will change, weather will change, and there will be a day and night cycle. We know that the world time in Dead Matter is 5 times faster than real life, so with some simple math, we can calculate everything quite easily. A full day and night cycle of 24 hours in-game will be roughly 4 hours and 48 minutes in real life. A year in-game will be 73 days in real life, and with all of that, we can safely assume that for a season to change, it will take 18 days in real life. Now, when it comes to day and night cycles, we've calculated that a 24-hour cycle in-game is approximately 4 hours and 48 minutes in real life. It would then make sense that we divide that number in half and that we would get 2 hours and 24 minutes of daytime and another 2 hours and 24 minutes for nighttime. As much as this makes sense, it may not always be the case though in Dead Matter, because that cycle will depend on the season. Just like in real life, summer has longer days and shorter nights, while winter has longer nights and shorter days. A clean installed server will start in fall, or autumn if you prefer, so the daytime will start to come shorter and shorter in the first 2 weeks of its uptime. There are various kinds of weather and effects for that weather implemented in the game, and I'm sure we will see many more down the road, but for right now, we have clouds, fog, rain, snow, heavy storms which include lightning, blizzards that can really hamper your view distance, and heat waves, which makes hydration super important. A lot of these weather cycles affects visibility for both day and nighttime. Sometimes, however, the weather will help you out. For example, if there is a full moon in the sky, nighttime will be brighter than if it was a crescent moon, thus making nighttime travel much easier. If the sky is clear of clouds and there is no overcast, you can even use the stars to navigate. The game did start with a basic dynamic weather system where there is a basic weathered patterns, but in recent history of the game development, the Dead Matter developers have overhauled that system to be based off of a meteorology formula, which makes the weather truly dynamic, more of a simulation than anything else. In terms of seasons, the game will offer all 4 seasons, which will be reflected noticeably in the world. For example, in fall, the tree leaves will change color. In winter, snow will cover everything. However, water does not freeze as far as I know, and you can run through snow causing snow trails, though I'm not sure about how persistent that snow trail will be. This also goes for tall grass. Weather will also affect player well-being. If it is too cold and you don't have the proper warming layers on, you may suffer debuffs. For example, if you are in a colder area and don't have gloves, your weapon stability and aim may suffer. If there is tons of heat, you could get heat stroke or become dehydrated quicker. There are probably many other weather effects that we have, but these are the ones that I know about right now. With all of that stuff out of the way, we can now look at how the world will actually start. A newly launched server will be basically in its first weeks of the whole apocalypse. Most of humanity has perished, and we are one of the lucky ones to still be alive and breathing that crisp Canadian air. This is where looting starts. Obviously, at the beginning of the server life, there will be plenty of loot to go around. Food, water, clothing, backpacks, car parts, guns and ammo, petrol, you name it, it will be available. As those days turn to weeks and weeks into months, there will be less and less stuff to find. Though it is important to note that loot spawns will not be completely done away with, unless you count the building you claim as your base. Thus, things will not spawn in your base. Hoarding food will no longer be an option because it will also expire, such as opened food packages like canned meat will expire much faster than closed canned meat. But as pre-made food becomes more scarce and more difficult to store, homesteading will become an option. You will be able to build greenhouses to grow various vegetables and go hunting for pigs, bears, deer, and more. But keep in mind, though this sounds easy, noise will attract players and zombies alike. So be sure, if you are hunting, shoot when you need to, and no more. Finding food and other loot will not be the only issue to resolve in Dead Matter. Without humanity to maintain what we have built, stuff will inevitably start to degrade. We do not know exactly how long it will take to affect the whole world by this degradation, but we know it will happen. Electricity will go out, running water will stop, central heating will cease to warm you, and more. Vehicles will start to break down as well, and the vehicles you do find as time goes on may be less and less viable and require more initial repairs to get going, unless of course you are lucky enough to find them in a garage. Zombies will also take their effect over time. Though they will not show cosmetic degradation and decomposition over time, they will start to become slower and easier to avoid. But do not get complacent and do not let your guard down, because there will still be fresh zombies around as well. The good news about the game servers starting in fall is that the first winter will be easier to survive, with plenty of food, loot, vehicles, and warm clothing to keep us nice and cozy in those cold winter nights. Finally, we have the points of interest such as buildings and landmarks. What is great about Dead Matter is that we will not have to run through random forests for half an hour trying to figure out if we're going in circles or not. We will always stumble upon something, whether it's a small rural barn on somebody's abandoned farm, an abandoned house outside the city, a village, or a trashy yet useful trailer park. You will always find something to search, which will give you gear and story. We have all had the experiences before in an open world survival game where you run around for hours searching monotonous buildings after the other, finding no loot or trash loot, and experiencing the often boring and tedious gameplay cycle. But Dead Matter seeks to do it differently. Now, I am not going to list every cool building possible or every location possible, because other YouTubers have already done that, and you guys have already probably seen them. But what I do want to do is talk about some locations that I am interested in that stand out from the rest, such as the bunkers. The bunkers are procedurally generated, and each server will have its own different setting of it. We do not know their locations, but it's safe to say that they are not going to be static and will change with the server. We also do not know how big they are, but from the small portions they have shown us in live streams, they seem to be rather sizable. We do know that they will not be the same on the inside, so there is no memorizing the layout of the bunkers. Each experience will be new to you because of that. Each server will have something special to offer you. Bunkers are going to play a big role in the game due to the loot that can be found inside. We are talking about legendary weapons, military gear, automatic weapons, weapons and gear that you simply will not find on the surface and in Canadian homes. So be careful who you tell about bunker locations, and knowing this, you should also be prepared for a fight when you find a bunker, because of the loot. The PvP potential is insane. We also know that bunkers will offer some unique gameplay experiences such as puzzles. Other survival games like Rust do this, and they do it well. Bunkers are secure locations, and because of that, you cannot hope to just Naruto run your way inside, as they require keycard access. So then the question is, where do you get this key card? Who knows? Perhaps from a military zombie wandering around outside, perhaps a scientist's private home in his or her study, or maybe just something else. Just know that the bunkers will probably be worth it. Another unique place is going to be the quarantine and evacuation zones, also known as the Nira camps. The NERA evacuation centers will be a completely procedural and random, just like the bunkers on every server, so you will not be able to swap servers and instantly run to one. Of course, they will have no puzzles as far as I know, because they consist of small camps or walls built around residential areas, kind of like miniature versions of the Division's Dark Zones. These NERA centers will be riddled with zombies, mid-tier loot, lots of medical equipment, and more. There is not too much to say about these centers right now, but they do seem to be a great mix of scavenging in private homes, getting some high-tier medical gear, and finding some good lore and story as well. The most interesting place for me is going to be the underground mine. The whole mining facility is promised to be gigantic. We will be able to get in it by activating an elevator or climbing through pipes, but be sure not to forget your flashlight. While down there, we will encounter different puzzles that will need to be solved to advance, and lethal hazards that will end our journey if we are not careful. These puzzles will include, but are not limited to, lights, doors, waterways, gas chambers, fans, and more. It is also mentioned that you will be able to meet NPCs in the mine, friendly or not. And of course, the radio station. Whilst it won't be a hot spot for some high-tier loot, it will be an interesting spot for lots of people due to its roleplay potential. There are some people in my Discord channel that have some pretty good plans for it, actually. There is not much to say about it, but just know that it will be used to broadcast whatever the player decides. This could have some very annoying or very strategic implications. And that is about it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for those of you who stuck with me the whole time. It means a lot. What are your most anticipated world features of Dead Matter? Leave them in the comments below. If you guys want to follow me on social media, especially my Discord and Twitter, all the links are in the description below. And remember, if you guys like scares, survival, and scavenging, consider hitting that subscribe button, share it with your friends, and I will see you all in the next one. Path out.